The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com, that's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I can be reached at 631-647-4694, or you can visit me on my website, mainstreetplanninggroup.com. When we talk about our code, we talk about choice, organization, direction, and education. And we work with hundreds of advisors across the country that come to us for solutions on life insurance, disability, long-term care, and annuities. We talk about guaranteed income for life. We talk about living benefits. If you listened to my show before, we talk about Social Security, all these things that affect your financial life. Today, we have a special guest, Rhonda Schwartz. Rhonda is from Quintessential Experience. And how can people get a hold of you, Rhonda?
They can call me at 516-492-8088.
And Rhonda is an advisor that works with us, and we wanted to have her tell a little bit about her story and how things are. You know, Rhonda, how did you get into the business of financial plan? You do financial planning and insurance and some investments, but how did you get into the business?
So it's an interesting story. Unfortunately, my father passed away 31 years ago at the age of 58 due to mesothelioma, which is asbestos-related cancer. He got it from work, so it was an occupational illness. And after he passed away, even though my mom is a very smart woman, she seemed a little bit lost. Like, what is the next step? What do I do now? And at the age of 23, not knowing very much about financials and legal accounting, things like that, I took a step forward and started asking questions of people who knew more than I did about these topics. And I learned enough to start advising her in an unofficial capacity. Then many years later, after my children were growing and going to school full time, when I thought back about some of the most fulfilling work experiences I've had, this was one of them. So I decided to take my capacity from unofficial to official and go back to school for my licenses and become a full-time holistic financial advisor. And what that means is holistic is not about flax seeds and eating nuts at every meal. Holistic means when I meet with somebody as an individual or as a family, I look at their entire picture before making proposals, meaning you might come to me and say, Rhonda, what should I do? I bought life insurance many years ago. I'm not sure it's enough. I'm not sure it's the right kind. And I'll say, great. I'm really proud of you that you started taking the first step forward in your financial planning journey. Let me ask you some questions. Let me see where you're at in life, what you have saved, what your goals are, what your family situation is, what your 5-year plan looks like. And only after talking to you about those things that make you an individual will I review your life insurance policy and give you positive, concrete advice that you can follow.
It's very interesting. Now, when your father passed, I heard the story before, and it's very, very upsetting, but, he had life insurance?
Yes. And that's also, thank you for reminding me, that's also one of the things that saved my family. My dad Being a forward-thinking person, even though he wasn't a financial person, so to speak, he was an intelligent man who cared about his family, and he had a term insurance policy that covered the mortgage on my parents' house and a little bit extra for tax purposes. And this term policy literally saved my family because we were able to stay in my childhood home, and my mom lived in that home for another 30 years. And
amazing.
Sold it for about 25 times what the house, what they paid for it. And it was a small $40,000 term policy. And my dad did right by us. And of course, I love him and I'm grateful for everything he did. But it just shows how something small, so to speak, relatively speaking, in this world could wrap its arms around the family and keep them in that house where their memories are for as long as they want to be there. And that's the type of thing that I try to do even today.
So it's funny because people's perception of life insurance is, what do I need that for? But it's really for the living. It's really for the next generation and your generation. I mean, your generation and your children's generation. Just by making that one financial step in planning, it changed your whole life.
And it's the truth. You know, sometimes you speak to people and what you get back is fear. Because when they think about life insurance, they think, well, of course, it's somebody passing and someone inheriting. And the truth of the matter is, today's life insurance is not what yesterday's life insurance policies are. And what I mean by that is that's no longer the case. For example, I'll give you a very simple one. Phones. When phones were invented, what were they for? You made a call, you received a call. But look at a phone nowadays. A cell phone makes calls, takes calls. You can watch movies on it. You can order things. You can do so many different things with a cell phone. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about taking pictures. Most important, you can take pictures on it. So when you look at life insurance used to be just one thing. It was like a one-trick pony. You would unfortunately pass away and your beneficiaries would get some money, which would keep them in a house or replace income and kind of like make them financially stable. Nowadays, life insurance is so advanced and evolved that it does many more things. Permanent policies have an ability to grow cash that can be used later on for major purchases or supplement for retirement planning. Life insurance also has living benefits. And what do I mean by living benefits? If, God forbid, you came down with a terminal illness, a chronic illness, or a critical illness, these policies can be tapped into early, and you can receive on a monthly or annually basis a portion of the lump sum of the death benefit early if you have one of these conditions happen to you. And let me just explain 2 seconds. Terminal illness, you are not expected to live past a year as verified by a doctor. Chronic illness would be a condition that you would need help with 2 of 6 activities of daily living or a cognitive impairment. And critical illness would be something like a heart attack, stroke, MS, lupus, etc.
Right. And in addition, they have policies with long-term care riders, which is different than those living benefits. And we talk a lot about that because the long-term care industry is under siege in a sense that you have very limited products. So sometimes we use it as a combination in planning. And I think you have experience with that, as have I. And tell me how that works real quick.
So a policy with a long-term care rider is a twofold policy. And it's a policy that will pay out in any circumstance. And what do I mean by that? So if you live a long, happy, healthy life and you pass away, God willing, at the age of 120, it functions as a life insurance policy and pays out your beneficiaries. Let's say on the other side, you do live that 120 years, but you need help with 2 of 6 activities of daily living. And that would be eating, bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, or continence, or have a cognitive impairment. What would happen then is the policy becomes your caretaker financially, and you would get a certain amount of money every month, and you use that for your care. And in that sense, every dollar that you put in serves two purposes, because it's either life insurance, long-term care rider, or a combination of the two. And then if something's left at the end, it goes to your beneficiaries.
And we think this is a terrific option, and we're going to review more of it after our break. And you're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm Neil Himmelstein. You guys can reach at 631-647-4694. My guest, Rhonda Schwartz. How can I get a hold of you, Rhonda?
Oh, please call me at 516-492-8088.
Terrific. I look forward to speaking to you after the break. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein, and we're having a lively discussion today with Rhonda Schwartz. If you need to reach me, I'm at 631-647-4694. And before the break, we were talking about having a long-term care rider on your life insurance policy. And we talk about this a lot, but I think it's very important. You know, many people feel they're not going to need long-term care, but they do need coverage for life insurance. And I know Rhonda, like myself, we work with a lot of women that have gone through, that are widows or divorced, and they need to organize their planning like Rhonda did for her mother. And I highly recommend that, well, let's just talk about the odds. 70% of us will need some sort of long-term care. The other 30% will be taking care of that 70%. And another interesting statistic that I just read from Tom Swazi on his website is only 6% of the population has a long-term care policy. So 70% are going to need it. Actually, it affects 100% of us, but only 6% have a long-term care policy. Now, why is that? Well, the perception out there is that long-term care is very expensive. It's not. Long-term care insurance is not very expensive. What's expensive is if you need the frickin' care, right, Rhonda?
Absolutely. I hear that a lot. It's probably the most common reaction that I get when I talk about long-term care, which I do every conversation I have. Number one, because I've experienced it with two grandmas in nursing homes many decades ago, before assisted living was a thing, and because I am passionate about taking care of people in any way I can. And my husband and I got our own policies at age 42 and 45.
Right.
So I may walk the walk and talk the talk at the same time. And I am so happy to have these policies, because it's really the only way you can think about retiring, is having all your ducks in a line.
Exactly.
And any retirement plan that doesn't include future care is not a complete plan.
Excellent. So why do we, before the break, we talked about having it inside your life insurance policy. It's another option for protecting that care. And why we need other options. There's three reasons why people don't take care of this. One, they're uninformed. Two, the perception is it's too expensive and they don't see the value in it because it's not imminent to them until it is. And then they go, oh, I wish I had that. And three, the carriers are extremely limited right now to what you can purchase. And you may have a health issue where you can't get long-term care insurance, but you still need to plan for it. So a lot of the policies now that include it inside a life insurance policy, and outside New York, they even have annuities that you can buy with a long-term care portion that'll help you with that extra income to take care of having someone come in your home. The other misconception, which I don't talk a lot about, is people think it's nursing home insurance. It is far from nursing home insurance. It is nursing home prevention insurance. Rhonda, tell them what I mean by that.
Okay, so many years ago, when long-term care became an available product, it was mostly nursing home insurance, and Neil is 100% correct in what he said. As long-term care insurance has evolved, along with many other product lines like annuities and life insurance, as I always say, this is not your grandmother's long-term care. This is long-term care for today's people. And today's people want to stay in their own homes and age in place. Well, how do you do that? You get your homes modified with ramps, grab bars. You get an aide to come in and help you with your activities of daily living. And you go on with your life and your activities because you're well cared for, you're clean, you're dressed, you're fed, your medications have been laid out. There won't be any mistakes over there. And then you have the rest of your day to do your thing, to be with your spouse,
Huge.
visit your grandchildren, and be safe. And safety is an important factor.
Right. But you can't think about that when you're 80, when you're already needing care. You have to think about it when you're 60, when you're 50, when you're 40, like Rhonda did, because that's all part of planning, is protecting yourself for the future and thinking about not just yourself, think about your spouse. If, can your spouse pick you up out of a chair? Think about your children. Are my children going to quit their jobs and fly to New York and take care of me? They may have children of their own. And what do they do then? And that's part of what they call the sandwich generation. We're all part of the sandwich generation. I know with my parents, my father had disintegrated discs in his neck and his back, and to the point where he was almost paralyzed. Very successful guy, very strong guy. But, age kept him alive a long time, and today's medicines, they can really keep us alive till we're 110, 120. But in what condition? Not only physically, but mentally. And mentally is where, listen, we start to lose it a little bit. We're really machines after all. We start to lose it a little bit. And some of that cognitive stuff is, did we remember to take our medicine? Did we, basic stuff. Or all of a sudden you drive to the store, you have no idea where you are.
Or why you went there.
Or why you went there. A lot of bad jokes about that, but we don't want to go there. But at the end of the day, long-term care is very, very crazy. So Congressman Suozzi, who's out of Huntington, actually has a proposal into the United States for some long-term care provisions. I hope to have him on a show later on. We're going to talk about that. There's also a lot of things going on in Washington State, in Indiana. New York State used to have a private-public partnership. It was actually called the Partnership. New York State started it with 4 states to prevent you from going on Medicaid. And we could have a whole discussion about Medicare and Medicaid. People think Medicare and Medicaid are the same thing, but it's not. What's Medicaid?
Medicaid is for lower income people or developmentally disabled people who need to have care provided.
Okay. So Medicaid is when you run out of money, hopefully Medicaid will kick in. But you have to run out of money. So it's really health insurance for the elderly. Now, it can be if you're developmentally disabled, growing up, this and that. But at the end of the day, Medicaid is not for most people. But unfortunately, if you have a long-term care event and you are not prepared, you will see your assets disappear very quickly. If you happen to then land up in a nursing home, I know some of the nursing homes out here in Long Island are for semi-private room, up to $400 and $500 a day. $500 a day. Can you imagine just every day, 500, here's 500, 500. How many days can you last at 500 a day? I mean, a year is what? 500 a day is 365,
right.
$180,000?
Exactly.
Okay, 2 years, $360,000? Now, the statistics used to be that they thought, the average nursing home stay is 3 years. No.
Not anymore.
Not anymore, because they can keep us alive. They can keep us. You know how long the average nursing home stay is? Do you know?
I would say between 5 and 8 years.
No, I call it till you run out of money.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden,
you're out.
You're out. And that's it's really sad, because I've known people that have been there 7, 8 years, and I know what it does to their family. And unfortunately, we wish that we could take care of our family or our own, but we're all spread out. I mean, I look at my kids. My son lives in Denver. My daughter lives in Hawaii. And if I need care, what are they going to do? They both have successful careers and families and lives of their own. I did too good a job, I guess. They flew to Coop, and I can't get them back, although my son's in town this week.
Yay.
These are the issues that you have to plan for. And calling someone like Rhonda, how do you get a hold of you, Rhonda?
I'm at 516-492-8088.
Or reaching out to myself, Neil Himmelstein. I could be reached at 631-647-4694. You're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. The name of my website is mainstreetplanninggroup.com. I welcome your attorneys, your agents, your advisors to reach out to me with any insurance issues whatsoever. And I thank you and have a beautiful day. It's a gorgeous day on Long Island.
Enjoy.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.